What up, everyone? It's me, Chris. Here to talk about UFC 139 going down this weekend from San Jose, California. Gotta say, really looking forward to this event. Most in particular, I guess, the pay-per-view portion of the card. Don't really have a whole lot to say about the main card. I'm not really going to address it, but coming off UFC on Fox, I think a lot of people were let down just by the Fox broadcast itself. Not necessarily the fight, just the way the broadcast played out and the way the fight ended after all the build-up. So I think UFC 139 should hopefully, appease those fans that were disappointed by UFC on Fox. I definitely expect it to. This is one of those cards that on paper is going to be crazy. As far as the undercards, the only fight I want to mention real quick, Miguel Torres, Nick Pace. I favor Miguel Torres. I just wish this fight was on Spike because I think it's going to be one of the better ones of the night and probably the best undercard fight. Main card, though, pay-per-view portion. And I will say this, I didn't realize this until I was breaking this card down the other day on a Science Finance radio show. Every card or every fight on this main card, on this pay-per-view portion of the card, I think is almost a 50-50 fight. You can make a strong case for either guy. I don't think any fight of these five is one-sided, and you couldn't say that the opponent or whoever, one of the two guys, doesn't have a real chance of winning the fight. That said, first up, we got Stephen Bonner, Kyle Kingsbury. Bonner coming off a win over Igor Pakraha, however you pronounce that, and Kingsbury coming off a win over Fabio Maldonado. I favor Kingsbury. Just a fresher fighter. I think he's on the upside. Bonner's on the downside. Bonner's probably the better striker, but probably the better grappler, but I don't think he's going to submit Kingsbury. I think Kingsbury will just work him in the clinch, take him down, beat him up a little bit there, and get the unanimous decision win. Rick Story, Martin Kampmann. Both guys coming off losses. Tough losses, though. Rick Story lost that fight to Charlie Brenneman. Late replacement Charlie Brenneman was like a day replacement or two replacement, so tough break for Rick Story. And as far as Martin Kampmann, he's coming off the loss to Diego Sanchez, a fight where the majority of fans thought that he won the fight. I think Diego Sanchez's face is still bleeding from that fight as we speak. Anyways, good matchup. Once again, you can make a case for the guy. Rick Story, I think maybe you might try to apply the game plan that he successfully applied against Thiago Alves in the first 2 rounds of their fight. Keep Kampmann up against cage, stifle his offense, maybe take him down, try to work him in top position. But Martin Kampmann, well, Thiago Alves was a far better striker than Rick Story as well, but he wasn't able to get his stuff going in the first 2 rounds. Martin Kampmann, though, going to try to keep this in the center of the cage, try to use his superior stand-up game, and pick Rick Story apart. If he gets on the ground, if he gets in the clinch, he may have some troubles there, although his Muay Thai style might help him out, especially with elbows. But if he gets on the ground, Martin Kampmann's got a pretty good game off his back, so I don't think he'll find too much trouble there. And I think he might be able to get back up. So I do think this fight will go to decision. Once again, either fighter could win, but I'm going to favor Martin Kampmann by decision. All right, fight that kind of came out of nowhere, but being as it's in San Jose, I think it's perfectly placed. Kung Lee making his UFC debut, the San Jose MMA favorite. And this, as a matter of fact, one thing I want to say about that, this card being in San Jose has been a hotbed of MMA for years. And so I really hope that the crowd comes out in response for this UFC card. And with Kung Lee being on it, I think that they will. All right, Kung Lee, making his UFC debut, as I already said, was originally scheduled to take on Vitor Belfort. Was not so anxious for that fight, just because Vitor has got the kind of hands and power that I think once he would have put it on Kung, he would have probably stopped him very early, or relatively early. However, Vitor's replacement, Vanderlei Silva, much more intriguing fight. Especially the fact that he's coming. I mean, Vanderlei, obviously his best days are done. That's nothing new. But it just doesn't seem like he can take a punch very well. I mean, he got knocked out by Chris Lieben, which is no shame. But the punch he got knocked down with wasn't all that hard. So you have to wonder what is really left, how much of a punch or shot he can really take. As for Kung Lee, the intriguing part with him coming in is that he's been off for a year and 5 months. That's a long time away. I didn't even know if he's going to fight anymore. I thought he was just basically retired without announcing it. So styles. Exciting style fight. This fight should be exciting while it lasts. In their primes, at their best, I would have no problem picking Vanderlei Silva to absolutely just myrtleize Kung Lee. However, those days are long gone. Although Kung Lee's been out of the ring for a while, and I still think that Vanderlei is the better fighter. I just don't think his chin's going to be able to hold up. I think Kung's going to catch him with some kicks, maybe a hard punch. Unless Vanderlei, I was watching a little preview for the Countdown show this week, or for this event, and Joe Silva saying how Vanderlei likes to swarm opponents, blah, blah, blah. He hasn't done that so much lately in fights, and we did against Chris Lieben. It backfired. So he may play it cautious, which will definitely give Kung the advantage. Kung's going to try to keep this fight at a distance anyway. and break Vanderlei down. Either way, though, once again, either guy can win, but I favor Kung Lee by stoppage, probably first round. Next up, and if Vanderlei loses, probably the last time we'll see him in the UFC or on the big stage. Sad, but all great fighters careers got to come to an end eventually. All right, next up you got Uriah Faber taking on Brian Bowles. Man, this is a tough one to call. Former WEC featherweight champion Faber taking on former WEC bantamweight champion Brian Bowles. Uriah coming off that 5-round decision loss to Dominic Cruz in a rematch. Brian Bowles coming off a win over Takeyu Mizugaki. Good for him to get back on the winning track after being out for so long with hand injuries, breaking his hand time and time again, it seems like. Although he did have that win over Damasio Page as well. As for this fight, yet another tough one to call. Uriah, I think that maybe he should be the slight favorite because he is a better overall fighter. I believe he is. He's got advantages in speed, athleticism, reflexes. As far as grappling goes, I think that Uriah's a better wrestler, and I think he's a better grappler, but Brian Bowles has showed pretty good, that guillotine choke is pretty effective. Stand-up, I think Uriah's stand-up game is more well-diverse, but I think Brian Bowles is a much harder puncher. Definitely got more power in his punches than Uriah Faber does. So, man, this fight, this is going to be a crazy fight. This may be one of the better ones tonight as well. I favor Uriah to win a decision if he plays it smart, doesn't just get in a straight-up slugfest with Brian Bowles. I think he can control the majority of the fight, just moving around, stick and move, trying to get some takedowns, even if he's not successful. Just working for him, might be able to keep in control. Not to say Brian can't win this fight. I think if Brian wins this fight, it'll probably be by catching Uriah, hurting him. I don't know if he'll finish him necessarily, but I wouldn't be surprised if he does. But I'm going to favor Uriah Faber by decision. All right, main event. Fight long in the making, in a way. Dan Henderson versus Mauricio Shogun Rua. I say long in the making because when these guys were both in Pride, it was the second Pride Vegas show. Dan Henderson knocked out Vanderlei Silva. Mauricio Shogun Rua, I believe that was the night that he got the straight leg lock or knee bar on my guy Kevin Randleman. And I was thinking to myself, that fight's got to be made next. Vanderlei just got knocked out by Henderson, who was obviously Shogun's teammate at the time. I was like, it's got to be made at 205. It's just the next most sensible bout for Pride. But then Pride dissolved after one more event and it didn't happen. So a few years later, it's finally going down. Henderson coming off one of the biggest wins of his career, knocking out Fedor, stopping him in the first round. Shogun coming off the rematch, first round stoppage over Forrest Griffin at UFC Brazil. All right, I know I'm redundant, broken record, whatever you want to call it, but another close fight to call, tough one to call. Henderson, better wrestler, for what it's worth, never really relied on it too much. More power in his punches, but not by a whole lot. He's got that big right hand, but both guys got solid chins. Both guys got power in their hands. I honestly don't. It's hard to say if either guys are getting knocked out. Overall, Shogun's stand-up game much more well-rounded, especially with the kicks, leg kicks. So I think he's got the edge in the stand-up game. Dan Henderson just kind of goes for that one big punch. If Shogun can avoid that, I think he should get the better of it there. On the ground, Dan Henderson's got some good ground and pound. If he decides to take this fight to the ground and tries to, but Shogun, who has been sent time and time again, although he hasn't displayed it much in his UFC career, has got a very solid jiu-jitsu game. So I think that he could do just fine off his back. He just want to be there for the majority of the fight. Also, I forgot to mention, this is along the line of the UFC's new things. Main event, 5-round fight. So it may come down to who has better cardio if the fight goes later on, if it doesn't end early. And I think that's probably going to be the issue. I think this probably will go all 5 rounds. And although neither guy I don't think has the best cardio, I think Shogun's gas tank definitely runs deeper than Dan Henderson's. So early on, I think Shogun's going to play safe from the outside. And as the fight wears on, I think he's going to wear Dan Henderson down with leg kicks. And I just think Dan Henderson's going to get tired. Can't say for sure that's going to happen, but that's just what I'm predicting. And I think Mauricio Shogun is probably going to win this fight by decision. But once again, either guy can win, and at either moment, at any moment in the fight, which is what makes this fight so intriguing. But I'm going to favor Mauricio Shogun Rua by decision. Alright, that's it for now. Want to hear your guys' thoughts on the card. If you think it is as intriguing as I do, and if you think all the fights on the main card are as close or as potentially close as I think that they can be, want to hear who you guys got winning, whatever fights you're interested in, including the main event and why, and any other feedback you have. That's it for now. Probably back Saturday night, talk about this event afterwards. I did break it down a little bit more in depth on Science Fights Radio Show. This past Sunday, if you didn't get a chance to check that out, link in the information part of the video as always, as well as link to sciencefights.com and my Twitter. Once again, that's it for all. Be back Saturday night, most likely to talk about these fights afterwards. But until then, I'm out.